today, as I was coming here, I got my train from Toronto. I took my seat, and some girl came to me and she said, "Hello, you're in the wrong seat." I said, "Are you sure?" She said, "Yes, it's 70 and I'm here." I said, "Okay, let me check." And I got my phone out and I started looking, and she said, "Give me your phone, I'm gonna check that." She looked and she said, "Yes, your train was yesterday. You're on the wrong train." I said, "What?" She said, "Yes, you're on the wrong train." And I was just like, I started laughing, and I remember building on what Ryan was saying, like situations and our subconscious mind. I realized I was planning to come on the 23rd. Something did not shift in my mind, and when I went straight to buy my ticket, I got the wrong ticket. So the ticket control came, and I was like really all over the place laughing. I said, "Listen, I just want to get on this train. I have something that I really need to be in Ottawa." And she started looking at me, and I think laughing is contagious. And she started laughing. She said, "You know what? Welcome on board. Just come in, and no problem. We'll take care of that. Via Rail is taking care of it." I said, "Thank you." So today, I'm here to talk about the big question. And as a life coach, it's always fascinating how the breakthrough happens after a question, and it is the right question for that person. Before we go into the question, I would like to spend some time and explain, the inner world, the journey, how our thoughts, our situations, our emotions, our behavior really control our life. And probably, as Ryan was also talking, as the hurdles, it's the situation. We are always stuck thinking that I need my situation to change, I need my relationships to change, and it's basically a completely different area that needs to change, my thoughts, myself. So, some time ago, someone called me, and we'll call her Sarah today. She said that I wanted to share with you that I had the best sleep in 10 years, and I had a weight of 10 years like was on my chest that was lifted. And I said, "Wow, how did that happen?" And she said, "I read that blog, and it was a blog I had about my move. I just moved recently from Ottawa to Toronto, and most of my life I was more into nature, more into quiet places, and I so much enjoyed Ottawa. And I was, to my surprise, when I did the pre-move, when I went to Toronto, I realized that I just noticed, I was observing, and I was like really enjoying my life there. Like accessibility, no cars, no this, I don't have to drive anywhere, and it was just like so interesting. And I thought, oh, maybe when I go back to Ottawa and I start packing, all these emotions will rise. But I was wrong. I went back to Ottawa a week later, and again, there was no really emotions rising about like a loss or anything. And I was like a little bit kind of like confused. So what's happening here? Maybe I changed, like I'm not really into what I liked in the past. And it was not true, because I looked around and I still enjoyed everything. I realized it was the lack of attachment. It was, I was not into the kind of like thought of I am losing Ottawa. It was more an addition. It was an addition to my life. It was not a subtraction. Ottawa was not subtracted. It was Toronto that was being added with everything that is coming from Ottawa. So that night, Sarah read that blog, and she said, for the last 10 years, I labeled my moving story, my change in relationship, my change in path in career as a failure. She made it mean to herself that I am a failure. In my case, it was I was free. I'm choosing my life. One day I'm here, the other day I'm there, I'm this, I'm out, I'm in, I'm a free person. She labeled that as a failure, and from failure, she got into real kind of depression. Situation doesn't have to change. It's what we tell ourselves about the situation, the fiction as we call it. So that story will create the emotion. People are always kind of like missing that beautiful place between the situation and their emotion. Owning your emotion is basically owning, excuse me, your thoughts, your fiction, your story, what you're telling about your life. And that will definitely be the main factor in how you show up in your life. Some people think that, oh, but I get motivated when I'm pushing myself hard. That's another question. It's choosing between being a leader in your life, being a change maker, or being somebody who's just managing your life. That's what happens. When we have harbored these negative thoughts about ourselves, thinking that this is how I'm going to push myself forward, actually, the thoughts are having a life of their own in your subconscious mind. They're looking for evidence to prove the thought right, not to prove you right. And you're like struggling to put yourself forward with your life. In my practice, I discovered that there are two different whys. A why that can make it and the why that can break it. A why that is more like the childlike why and the childish why. The why that kids use to learn and grow really with open mind and like wanting to know more and asking all these questions to find their answers. And there is another why that is basically a why coming from a place of anger, a place of resentment. It's already, the judgment has already been passed, and the road is like blocked. As I call it, the why of the victor and the why of the victim. A why that I lived in for 30 years, the victim why. I was blaming everybody in my life. I was blaming my kids, my husband, my parents, everything had to change for me to be happy. And of course, that I was totally out of my business, out of my power. When you start asking the right why is this happening for me? Why is this really happening? Where is the opportunity here? That's coming back into your power. That's coming back into what will change your life. For 30 years, I was on the wrong side of the question, and I was locked into that fog of being the victim. There is one person here in the audience. 5 years ago when I came to Ottawa, she first saved my body. I came from Turkey and I forgot my meds, and I was like half dead. 1 year later, she saved my soul. She said, Nevin, go and become a life coach. You're born to be that person. And I started. And it was the best thing that ever happened to me. Without her, I would not be the same person today. Padma, please come. Yes, it was that simple line that changed the whole paradigm from the victim to the victor. It was that one simple line that allowed me to go beyond being the victim in my life, start living my passion, creating that practice, holding workshops internationally, clients in 5 continents. And it was Padme. Yes, it was serious. It's the why. Why am I feeling the way I'm feeling? Identify your thoughts, identify your power, identify the opportunity in every single relationship. And I think the way to really move from the victim why to the victor why is, as I call it, the stardust, is compassion. Understanding that every and each one of us is in the process of really sorting out their facts and their fiction. Nobody's out there to bug you. Nobody's out there to give you a hard time. Nobody's out there to really hurt you. They're just stuck somewhere, like we are all stuck at some point. And I believe that when I was able to go beyond poor me and the ego and shift the why to really understanding what is the gift in every relationship in my life. And I found out that the most difficult relationships were the biggest gifts in my life. That changed also my life and my kids' life and my clients' life. One of the things that as parents we struggle with when we step too much into our kids' business, because unconsciously we think we don't want them to struggle. But I realized that the best thing that ever happened to me was this struggle. And now, I really had to work on myself first, especially with my kids. I have 4 kids. I used to be a control freak. I used to believe that, you know what, it's my way or the highway, and I have the best ideas, and I'm intelligent, and I'm smart, and if you don't listen to me, you're in trouble, and I'm here to save you. Nonsense. It was not true. I had to first believe that whatever I'm thinking is just thoughts, and it's my opinion. It is not the truth. It is not the reality. It's my own opinion. And when I started really believing that, it transformed relationship with my kids, because they didn't feel my pressure. They didn't feel me pushing all the way. They were more now coming to me without me kind of like really wanting anything to happen. There's no agenda. There's no, I'm gonna save you. No, they're just coming willingly. Also, when we release all these negative thoughts, our energy changes. And in your life, who do you want to be around? Somebody who's stressed and anxious, or somebody who's calm? But you cannot fake it. You really have to work on your thoughts, on your whys. Clear all these whys, the victim whys, and allow the victor to come in. So the big question here is today, which why are you going to choose? I hope you choose the why that helps you in your journey of finding your facts, not the fiction, finding your truth, and finding joy.